Nammo Phat. Good morning. It's Friday, April 17th, 2020, and we're here for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. This morning we're reciting the fifth wonderful precept. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I vow to cultivate good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society by practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will ingest only items that preserve peace, well-being, and joy in my body, in my consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family and society. I am determined not to use alcohol or any other items that contain toxins, such as certain TV programs, magazines, books, films, and conversations. I am aware that to damage my body or my consciousness with these poisons is to betray my ancestors, my parents, my society, and future generations. I will work to transform violence, fear, anger, and confusion in myself and in society by practicing a diet for myself and for society. I understand that a proper diet is crucial for self-transformation and the transformation of society. We're continuing with Kamma and the End of Kamma by Ajahn Sucitto. Fathoming, mindfulness, and full awareness. Considering all this, how can we scan and respond more skillfully? How do we acknowledge feeling dumped on or abused and not just react or suppress? Maybe we need to say a few things to a few people. Or maybe it's a matter of correcting our own misperceptions. In any case, the best way to start is by scanning the heart. This process begins with fathoming attention, yoniso manasikara, which is attention backed up by the intention to consider experience in terms of how it affects you. It is a heartful approach, whereby rather than just going along with the topic of a thought, you listen to it deeply. You sift through the flood of interpretations or digressions around the topics with an inquiring sense that asks, what's the meaning behind this thought or attitude? What is the assumption and how realistic is that? How am I with my mind being like that? This is a sympathetic, not a critical survey, and it asks you to get an accurate feel for the psychologies that direct your life. Then, is this stressful or not? This process reveals underlying impulses and heart impressions, whether these are feelings of being threatened or alienated, or of uplift and confidence. This underlying stuff is what powers how we think and what we think about. It's important to know what's making you tick in any situation, so putting a check on this process isn't a suppression. It's more about allowing us to survey our inner territory. It helps us see beyond the boundaries of our self-image. But we put analysis and further action on hold. We don't try to fix things. We don't go spasming into opinion about ourselves based on that survey. And the simple beauty of this process is that when we suspend the reactions of what we should and shouldn't be feeling, there is clarity and spaciousness. With that, we reconnect with our innate ethical sensitivity, the good Kamma, which supports clarity and compassion. These, thankfully, are the basic qualities that we all have as human beings. But because our way of attending is often superficial or goal-oriented, those qualities aren't always accessible to us. So they surface dependent on a selfless regard, a regard that is without pressure, opinions, and judgments. This regard is fathoming attention. It just looks out for what is stressful and what is to be let go of. And this simple internal directness is often all we really need. We can generally figure out the details of what to do and how, or whether to do nothing at all, once we have got this point of view straight. A further development of attention is mindfulness, sati, the ability to bear a theme, mood, thought, or sensation in mind. It's a skillful use of mano, the mind organ. Whereas fathoming is an active attention that sifts through the topics of the mind, mindfulness holds attention on a point, such as a thought or sensation, in order to look into the nature of that as a phenomenon. For example, mindfulness attends to an emotion as an emotion and doesn't let it harden into an attitude or an action. It holds the boundary of the present moment so that we can really discern what a feeling is, what a mood is, rather than act upon or explain or suppress them. Mindfulness is vital because in the feeling sense there are no boundaries. Mental feeling goes everywhere. And if that felt sense starts to proliferate, it becomes I am, I always will be, people don't like me, I'm terrible, and goes on reverberating. Even in the case of a positive mood, if mindfulness is absent, we may assume that everything's great and be quite insensitive to the moods of others. So it's always skillful to steady the domain of citta with mindfulness. Then we don't attach to the perception and feelings and proliferate around the heart impression or mind states that may subsequently arise. A complement to mindfulness is full awareness, sampajanya. Full awareness is the capacity to be alert and receptive, the ability to feel out what we're sensitive to. It is citta-based. Mindfulness holds a boundary so that we don't get overwhelmed, shut down, or react to the feelings that we have. Then with full awareness, we get the whole of it, how that impression arises, and what it does. We may then understand this feeling or impression is based upon this perception and thought, and it subsides when that thought or perception is removed. This negative impression arises when that perception or that memory and it subsides when I practice loving kindness, or even when I can just sit with it and let it subside. Together, mindfulness and full awareness acknowledge what is going on and where it stops. They don't bring I am, I should be into it. If we establish these skills of attention, they free the mind from acting on or reacting to the results of the past. If we attend to the present impressions, the present moods and sensations, and cut off the proliferations and projections, we're not living in the fog of resentment, fantasy, romance, or other biases. This means that our attention, and consequently our moods, actions, and speech, are going to be clearer and brighter. Because of this, we can get freer from our habitual action or inaction. Withdrawing from action is still an action, and that gets to be a habit too. But if there is skillful attention to the heart, we can speak of how things seem, what incidents give rise to the feeling of being mistreated, and have a sense that, whether anyone else listens or responds, at least we have brought some clarity into our lives. We don't have to keep creating fresh kamma based upon old habits. Skillful attention is kamma that leads to the end of kamma. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Sadhu. 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 Thank you for joining me this day, and I hope you have a very good weekend.